Welcome back to the Horticulture Center. I'm Juliana Nelson from Alumni Engagement, and I have with me Jessica Chambers, the director of the Horticulture Center.
Thank you, Juliana. So welcome everybody to the ISU Horticulture Center. We're getting ready to celebrate our 15th Autumnal Festival. Our Autumnal Festival marks how many years we've been out, how many years the center's been here at ISU. This 15th year is a little different. COVID's making a little different, but, so that has kind of made us change the way we celebrate. What we decided to do is kind of take a walk down memory lane, and so each of the gardens at the center is celebrating a past theme. This year's themes is the Sounds of the Center, which is kind of incorporated into all of the gardens. The garden right here behind me, this is one of my favorite themes. This is, in 2012, we celebrated the Gardens of Repute, showcasing wicked plants and the vile acts they commit. Now we do a different theme every year for several reasons. One, we want you to come out and see what we're up to every year, and like to change that up. But we also like to educate ourselves as well as our community about plants, and there's so much to learn about plants. You could go for 100 years and never learn everything about plants. So in 2012, we kind of took a different look at plants, and we looked at the strategies for survival that some plants do, and I think some people would say they're awful or they're mean. You know, plants aren't awful or mean. They just have these strategies to keep themselves going. So I think like poison ivy is a great example of a poisonous plant. We don't have any here for you today, but poison ivy. There's plants like digitalis, monkshood, very poisonous. There's even plants around your own home that are poisonous. Things like hydrangeas or yews. Those are poisonous plants, but you don't go out there and eat them. So as long as you're looking at them, that's all good. So we decided this year this is our outdoor classroom, and we decided to put that sound portion in by planting a piano. It's kind of unconventional, but we've put some of the different types of cucurbits. Those are pumpkins, gourds, and squash that we grow here at the center as part of our fundraiser. And we've incorporated those into the piano, kind of burnt the piano a little and stained it, and then really had a nice time, fun time planting this. Some of the signage that you see around here are talking about people that died being poisoned by plants, like Cleopatra. We also have some plants labeled like wisteria that are wisteria iris that are actually poisonous plants. And again, it's not that these plants are bad. These plants have just a unique strategy for survival. So that could be they have certain toxins, like we talked about with the poison ivy. They could have thorns, you know, that are prickly. They can have tannins or things that are, you know, not pleasant for creatures to eat. So there's many different things that animals and people like, no, leave those plants alone. So in 2016, we celebrated the nocturnal garden, and it's discovering the beauty of the night. And our event that year was at night. It was kind of important for us to kind of showcase the critters at night, and not only plants, but the critters at night. So we have a lot of plants that bloom, that have white blooms, and those white blooms attract insects like moths at night. And moths are really critical. They're a food source for a lot of different, you know, bats, for example. So it was really important for us to kind of not only show plants, but also that connection to nocturnal animals. So this big area here, we call this now our nocturnal or our moon garden. Originally, every year this garden flipped depending on the theme. But after we had this moon garden, we decided we're keeping it every year because we just really enjoyed it. There's a lot of different plants in this. We do texture, different, it's almost all white blooming plants. Occasionally something creeps in there that isn't white, but it's mostly white blooming plants, and then we have shades of like white and gray and blue in this garden. Let me talk to you about a couple of the really cool plants that we have. One of them here is this paper moon scabosia. So this is actually the seed head on it, called Paper Moon. And it's just beautiful. It's one of our new favorite plants that we like to showcase in this garden. Then we have a lot of our traditional, there's a white vinca, there's gomphorina here. You see all the butterflies and different insects here on the flowers. We have white geraniums. And then I'd kind of like to show you some of the artwork in here. Like for example, this skunk. This was painted by one of the fine arts students in graphic design several years back, Tamara Smith. And she loved painting, but she also did a lot of graphic design. And so she did some research, and then she worked on all these labels and these signs that talked about the different critters that visit at nighttime. So this one's a skunk. At nighttime, you're not supposed to be here at the center at nighttime, but when I've been out here, there's a good chance you'll see a skunk out here. So it's one of my favorite ones that she painted. Go around the corner, you can also see she painted a couple of other bigger signs. So just to remind everybody, the center was created as a laboratory for our students at ISU first and foremost. So research does take place, and of course it's open to the community most days, but it's really created for the students. So this is an example of how a graphic design student used the center, as a laboratory, even though they weren't a horticulture student or an agriculture student. So it really is open to students in any discipline. I thought her painting was just very, very sweet. Also, when you look down here, we like to throw in other types of plants, not just flowers, but down here we have a white pepper. This is a Mira pepper. Actually, it turns a little more yellow the more it's in the sun. When they first get to the right size, they're more white. And we like incorporating vegetables, tropicals, house plants as much as we can into the gardens, because we really believe your landscape should do more for you than just look pretty. All right, one of the last surprises that we have for the Autumnal Festival this weekend is our revamped rock and roll garden. This was a student class project. We have a class called Herbaceous Plants, and not very many students, there were 6 students. And we divided this garden so everybody spaced out, and the students were able to put rocks in here and then landscape their own area with plants that they were learning that week. We also, another really cool thing about this garden is that we had a lot of help from geology, and specifically Paul Meister, who really helped us to organize the plants in their sedimentary, igneous, and metamorphic. Because we're hoping that as kids come here and parents come here, they can, oh yeah, I remember that term, and look at this rock, because the rocks are just so beautiful. We also have a little play on the plants in here. We use mostly sedums, which the common name is stone crop. So we have a huge diversity of stone crop in this garden. And then we also tied this back to our theme, which is our Sounds of the Center for the theme for this year. So it was really appropriate that we kind of fixed it, spruced this garden up. So there's a couple of things that we added. One was the xylophone. That was done by a volunteer. I think I've mentioned that we have the community as a part of the center, and we're really dependent on our community and our volunteers to support the center. And that could be in a bunch of different ways. Sometimes they volunteer. A lot of them donate to the center, which is critical. It is really critical for the success of the center from year to year. Because most of the items we need to fundraise to purchase that keep the center running. And then I think lastly, I'd like to point out this arbor here that has the instruments in it. The instruments were donated from the music shop several years ago now, and we finally got them up on the arbor, and that's really the formal entrance to this garden. And it's kind of a fun, whimsical entrance, and it was done by one of our part-time lecturers volunteering for the center, Randy Dom. So there's so much to look at the center now. I welcome you all to come visit. We're open dawn to dusk after the festival, and come out here and look at all that we've been doing before the frost hits and it goes away for this 15th year of the Horticulture Center.